Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Night Flesh and Blood. This is episode 8. I am Nick, here with Colin. Colin and I are on Team Raising Quell, a subsidiary of the Romping Club. This week, we're joined with joined by two very special guests. We have Lewis and Pedro of the Turtle Squad, a subsidiary of the Romping Club. So we got almost the whole crew. Brandon was on episode 7. Um, and now Pedro and Lewis are on this week, and then Ryan's on here and there, but he's not here. So we have how many? We have 4 out of 6 of the entire Romping Club organization. So it should be this is looking to be a good episode. Hey everyone, I got some bad news. This did not end up being a great episode. We had some technical difficulties. Well, let me rephrase that. It was a great episode, but we had some technical difficulties with our friend Pedro. Uh, and long story short, we ended up with only, I don't know, like 12 to 13 minutes of his audio from the hour and a half long podcast. So instead of re recording, what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of recap just like some of Pedro's takes and some of the points that he made because I thought that they were really, really good. So I got some notes here, and I'm just going to kind of recap and summarize what he said because I think it was really valuable. So in the rest of the episode, there will be some, like, maybe some longer pauses, some, like, awkward cuts and stuff. Just, like, go ahead, just roll with it. Um, yeah. Don't hate on us too much in the comments. Don't leave us too many bad reviews. Um, so, yeah, we're just going to roll with this one. So, let's go.
It's a
And
banner day.
It is. It is a banner day. And we are going to talk about Part the Mistfail draft. Not limited as a whole. We're not going to talk about sealed at all. We're going to talk about just draft. Um, the set hasn't even come out yet. We have done some pre-releases, but the set isn't released. But Pedro, Lewis, and myself have already probably done, between the three of us, like 20, 25 drafts because that's how games work nowadays. So yeah, we're going to dive into it and try to help everybody, I don't know, get ready for nationals, get ready for drafting this set. So we'll jump right in. So, all right. So before we talk about draft, I know Colin every episode wants to start off with some banter. He's got something prepared, right, Colin? You got some banter prepared?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, I have one thing. I have one thing to banter about that happened today. It's not about flesh and blood. Uh, it's about being a parent. So my son, Oliver, he says a lot. He's almost 2. He turns 2 in almost exactly a month. But he says a lot of words, and he pronounces them in his own way mostly. And he, like, water is his favorite drink. He drinks water like all day every day, and he'll always say, like, I want water, I need water, I want water. But he always says it with like an L instead of a T. He'll be like, I want wale. And
Mm-hmm.
whenever he does that, I try to, I don't know, I'm like, I'll say to him, I'm like, water, like, try to get him to pronounce it correctly. Today, for the first time, he said water with a T. And
Wow.
immediately, I was like, no, we need, like, go back to saying it with the L. I missed the L. Like,
Aw.
let's, it's just one of those
Figure
moments
up
where I'm
so
like, oh, no,
fast.
like someday he's not going to say water with an L anymore.
I thought you were about to ask us for parenting advice. We got Lewis on. We need all his advice now.
No offense, I would never ask you guys for parenting advice. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'll take help from anywhere I can get it.
Oh, I can. As long as we're talking about parenting stories, I can tell one from yesterday. So my daughter's in the back seat of the car, and I'm talking to my wife up front, and I said shoot, like I forget the context, but I just said the word shoot, and my daughter from the back goes, "Dada, did you say a bad word?" And I go, "No, I said shoot." She goes, "Oh, I thought you said shit."
Oh my
Uh,
god. She might
so
I was
yeah,
she might have
thinking
heard
it, but it just came
Uncle
out.
Nick say that one. She learned that one from Uncle
yeah,
Nick, maybe. That's
we
my
we
bad.
might say that around her too much. Gotta cut
Yeah.
that out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, she doesn't listen to this podcast.
Lewis, is your daughter saying any bad words yet?
No, she's starting to coo, which is cute.
Oh.
If we're talking about stories, I guess the best story recently was yesterday. Was it Friday? Friday walking into the house. I'm bringing all the stuff in. Jessica's in front of me with Aria, or our daughter's name. Um, she walks as soon as she walks into the house. Aria just like projectile vomits all over the floor in her.
Oh no.
it was like that's how you wake up. Yep.
Yeah. I guess that's better
Nothing
than
else
the
to add.
car. If you had just
Yeah,
left the
for
car,
sure.
that's better
Yeah,
than
for
the car
sure.
for sure.
Yeah, that's a easier cleanup for sure.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy how like quickly when you become a parent, like your own child's like bodily fluids just don't even phase you. It's like I've like
True.
cleaned up so much like baby
Doesn't
gunk
phase me. It phases
from
my
any
wife
end.
still.
Really, dude. Oliver was like 4 years old, or no, 4 days old. I don't know, less than a week old probably. But Anna was like sitting on the rocking chair in his nursery, and I was like changing his diaper. And he was brand new, but I like picked up his legs to like wipe like wipe his butt, and he like squirted like poop across the room, and it landed on Anna. It was like the most disgusting thing ever. And like
Oh,
that just kind of that broke the seal of
yeah.
Ripped the
being
band-aid
close.
off.
I
It
mean,
ripped the
how
band-aid
how
off,
can
and we
you
were just
not?
like, okay, nothing's gonna like be worse than that, really. So, um, yeah, we're unfazed at this point. So Pedro's probably listening, like, Jesus Christ, like I do not want to have a kid anytime soon. Uh-oh,
He's out of here.
Pedro just dipped.
Oh, he's
Oh,
back.
Pedro's back. Pedro, are you there? Oh, he dipped again. Oh, he's back again. Pedro? Hello? Are you there? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, so you don't have to really worry about getting pooped on. Okay, someday.
So.
Um. All right, sweet. Well, I guess we should just jump right into this and get straight to the point. We just want to talk about draft. We'll try. We say this like every other episode. We're like, we want to be like a short form podcast. Keep it like 40 minutes or so. We'll see if we actually do that. So we might end up talking a lot, but we have an idea. We're not going to go through every single card. We are going to talk about all three of the heroes, obviously. What we're going to do for each hero, and we're not going to talk about a ton of the generic cards or even like the like blue mystic cards. We're not going to talk about a ton of those. Maybe they'll come up here or there. But for each hero, what we're going to do is myself, Lewis, and Pedro. We're each going to pick a power card, a trap card, and like a bomb card for each hero. Um, Power cards being like commons and rares that like you could probably take as signals that hero's open, and you want a lot of your deck to be made up, or you want as many of these cards in your deck as possible. Trap cards being like rares or majestics that like maybe look powerful at first, but actually aren't as powerful as you'd think, and maybe could be a card that like you think is a signal but isn't. And that's kind of how I was thinking about like the trap cards. So traps in terms of thinking they're a signal when them not being a signal, but also traps in terms of like it looking better than it actually is when it plays. And then the bomb cards are just cards like if you open one of these, like you should just force that hero the rest of the draft. Um, so yeah, and Colin hasn't really like touched this set a lot, so he's going to kind of facilitate the conversation for us, and kind of get it going, if that's okay. Colin, putting you on the
Yeah,
spot. How do you feel about that?
No, I actually think it'll be valuable because I think you guys are in the upper. I don't know what the metaphor is, but the right side of the bell curve in terms of people who've played, how much people have played this set. So I'll be someone coming from the other side of the bell curve, and I think that'll be useful for listeners.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure that because of that, you'll ask like some good pointed questions.
Yeah, I
Um,
think questions that you guys it wouldn't occur to you because it's like at this point maybe second nature.
okay, I am back from post production, live from the post production zone. Uh, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take this opportunity or this time right here to just summarize um, Pedro's takes on each hero and his general tips. And I'm going to summarize all of that right now. And then the rest of the episode will mostly be like me and Lewis and Colin discussing things. Um, so I'll just go with new first. For new, the power card that Pedro picked was Red Venomous Bite. The attack reaction, it's 1 for 3, and then makes a Fang Strike in your hand. And he went with this one, especially over Hiss, because just the numbers are more important in limited. So it's basically a 1 for 4 attack react. His trap card was Intimate Inducement, which is the card that it's a reaction, gives an attack +1 at every color, but then lets you, depending on the color, lets you look at the top cards of your opponent's deck. And he, similar to why he thinks Venomous Bite is good, he thinks Intimate Inducement is kind of a trap because the numbers on it just aren't that good. So if you're going to play it, maybe just play the blue. And then his bomb card I thought was super interesting. It was Prismatic Leyline, which is the generic yellow non-attack or just action card. Um, yeah, the generic yellow action that gives your next red attack +1, your next yellow attack +2, and your next blue attack +3 this turn. Because he said with new, just needing to play stealth cards of various colors, like it's very easy for her to play a blue and a red attack on the same turn. So then this card makes both of those attacks come in for a breakpoint of 4. So that was super interesting. I thought that was a great point. And I'm definitely going to be looking out for that in my own drafts. Now on to Enigma. His just power card, and again these are like power, just like commons and rares, was Spectral Manifestations. I'm pretty sure this is the action card that creates a spectral shield, and if you have no other auras, it puts 3 +1 counters on that spectral shield. So just basically a 0 for 4, 0 card, 4 attack with go again is what it turns into, and then the ward 1. But Pedro talked a lot about like the protect the queen strategy with Enigma, where you want to be building up an aura and then protecting it. And this is a great way to kind of either start that train and get it going, or restart that if your board clears. And then as far as bombs for Enigma, he agreed with Lewis and I and what we said. Enigma's got some really good bombs. The Miragai card, a lot of the Majestics are really good. Um, oh, his trap was Solitary Companion. He was not a fan of that card in Enigma. And then for Zen, his power card was Stride of Reprisal, the boots that makes a Crouching Tiger in your hand. Um, that definitely that card just turns on so many of your other power cards that you want to be playing like in your actual deck. Um, yeah, that card and the Ninja Mask are both really good. We talk about that a lot, or I talk about that a lot. His trap card is actually a common. It's Companion of the Claw. It's the 2 cost 4 attack. Go again at red, and if you pitch a blue, it creates a Crouching Tiger in your hand. Which this is a great shout. It just doesn't really fit the cost curve of the weapon. Um, so in theory, to like really get the most out of it, you'll need to be playing a big. You need to be pitching 2 blue cards and attacking with that, then attacking with your weapon, and then attacking with like Key Unleashed or something. And it's just like it just doesn't. A lot of times, it just really like clunks up your hand, and the resource cost doesn't fit very well. And then his bomb was the Sacred Art Jade Tiger Domain for Zen, which was actually the only Sacred Art that Pedro thinks is good in Limited. He was really low on new Sacred Art and Enigma's Sacred Art in Limited, just because they cost 3, and for new and Enigma, it's like it requires a lot of other setup for it to be super impactful. So his bomb for Zen was the Sacred Art Jade Tiger Domain. Um, Pedro also had some really good tips for playing Enigma and Zen. So I asked him to just send me kind of a rundown of his main points. So I'll go through those right now as well. For Enigma, he thinks in limited especially your goal is to protect the queen. So build up a lot of counters on a spectral shield, preferably that can attack for 0 resources each turn, and then protect that. Keep that alive and have a weapon that costs 0, and use your hand to block out and protect it, and then send an attack for 5 or 6 or whatever every single turn. He says against new, you probably want to develop a board as quickly as possible, and Spectral Manifestations lets you rebuild it if you need to. That was his power card. And then against Zen, you maybe want to wait until they've burned through some of their best power cards before trying to just like really develop your strong board state. So play more defensive slash mid rangey at first. And he says this is another reason that like Battlefront Bastion is like so good in Enigma, and Battlefront Bastion is just good in all the decks. Let's be honest. Pedro was super high on that card. At one point later in the episode, Colin kind of asks us a pack one pick one scenario with Battlefront Bastion in it, and Pedro was like, "Yeah, Windmill Slam, the Battlefront Bastion." So then for Zen, Pedro really thinks there's like 2 versions of the deck. It's like the lean red aggro version that's most likely to happen, maybe if you're the only ninja at the table, and then there's like the heavier blue transcend version, which is the more likely of the 2 for you to be. The lean red aggro version is like uses like 11 or 12 blues, stronger against new than the blue version for obvious reasons. Um, and it's just like you just got past really above rate cards. You can play all the reds. You're just like doing the numbers. You can just roll people. And then the blue transcend version probably has like he said like 17 to 20 blues even could work. I would say like at the lowest you would probably want 15. That's my personal take. With a couple of good combo threats that you can recycle with the headpiece and preserve tradition, the the instant mystic card that turns into a chi. And you probably want 5 or 6 transcend cards for this. And yeah, blue transcend is the most likely version. Yeah, definitely. So I think for the heroes, because Lewis, you might have to hop off a little bit early. So we'll start with new, then go into Enigma, and then do Zen last. Um, so yeah, do you guys want to get right into it?
Yeah, sounds good.
Sweet. I guess first of all, just one simple question: scale of 1 to 10. How much have you been enjoying this draft format so far? I guess
I
Pedro,
think it's
you
definitely.
first.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Lewis. I mean, yeah, +1 to all that. Lewis, what do you think? Scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, I think this has definitely been my favorite draft set yet. So I'd probably put it closer to like a 9 for me. Um, Going into the set though, like I do like Assassin, I do like Illusionist, so there's a little bit of bias there. Um, but playing Ninja has been awesome too, and they've all been great in CC practice as well. So from a limited perspective, it's been awesome, but from a CC perspective, all 3 have been awesome as well. And
Hmm.
usually you don't have that, I feel.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, I think I'd probably go maybe a little lower. Um, I'll probably go with like a 7. In terms of like enjoyment and thinking this set is like thinking how like interesting and I don't know unique the set is, and like honestly how much fun it is. It's like a 9 probably. Like the set is really cool, but in terms of like me actually drafting the set, I'm probably like a 7, only because I feel like I haven't figured out anything but Zen so far. Like at pre-release, I played an Enigma deck, and like I just like didn't know what I was doing. Like Illusionist is just like a different game, and I like didn't know when to prioritize like protecting the board versus like letting the board clear and then rebuilding. Like that whole equation is like, I guess to be honest, like it just feels way over my head, and that's kind of daunting. So going into a draft, I'm like a little bit like I always catch myself just like kind of skipping over the illusionist cards already, and I'm like, no, I need to like learn how to play that hero. But I do like this is the first set in a long time that I look at all 3 heroes and I'm like, all three of them are super interesting and cool, and I can appreciate the design and play style of all three of them. And like usually in a set, there's one hero that I'm like, oh, that's like boring and stupid, and I don't feel that way about any of the heroes. um, but yeah, those are harsh words because I like drafting in pretty much every set, but yeah. So I'm gonna say a 7.5, 7.5. So
I think that's a fair number for sure.
yeah,
I think you're spot on with what everything you stated.
yeah. So I need you to teach me how to play Enigma, you and Pedro. So we'll have
Nigma's
to
been a
build.
great time. I think she's the underdog that really can take a draft pod
Hmm.
unexpectedly, but she can draw some dead hands sometimes,
Hmm.
and that can wipe your board. So
All right, Colin, do you want to get us started? We'll start with new, and you pick with who you want to start. Who you want to start the
Uh,
conversation?
so we're starting with the questions that you came up with,
We could start.
like the
Actually, yeah,
cards.
yeah. Let's do
How
the
about we
power
do it
cards,
like that?
draft cards, and bombs.
How about we yeah, how about we do that? That we start with the cards,
Okay.
and then I'll ask follow up questions about that hero before we move on to the next hero.
Okay. All right, let's do that. So let's start with new. And then let's just go around. Me, Lewis, and Pedro will do our power cards first. So we'll do power cards, then we'll loop back around to trap cards, then loop around to bombs.
Yes, let's do
And
that.
we'll try to keep it short. So for new, my power card is, and this is a common or rare power card, is Double Trouble. And I wanted to get specific with colors, but I think with Double Trouble, like if you see red, yellow, or blue, you should take that as a signal that that hero is open, at least so far. Um, and you should, yeah, if you're semi comfortable playing new, you should take the first double trouble you see, and yeah, take that as a strong signal that that hero is open because that card is crazy, especially especially if you just have one of the equipment pieces that like is a reaction and then gives you one of the fang strikes or whatever to play. So like that equipment alone just like helps you trigger the effect. So if anybody doesn't know, Double Trouble is the card that it's like a 0 for 3 at red, blocks 3, and if you've activated 2 or more reactions on the chain link, it gets +2 and banish the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck on hit. So like if you do the reactions, it's a 0 for 5 at red that blocks 3 and takes 2 cards from your opponent's deck. Um, which new is one of the heroes that really can threaten fatigue in the format, and like that helps. So yeah, Double Trouble's my answer for new. So Lewis,
Lewis, what do
you
you
go.
think?
yeah, that's definitely a good one. I definitely agree with Double Trouble as being one. Um, I This is gonna be a little bit cliche, just because I think all the classes equipment is really, really important. But I think the assassin equipment is it's neck and neck with Enigma's hands, but I think assassin equipment can literally win so many games. So either the hands, which rousing wave, or undertow stilettos. Um, I think is a really good place to be in. With stilettos, it allows you, and with the archetype of being able to play off your opponent, it allows you to play something from your side and then go again into theirs, or it allows you just to play one card, 2 card hand, I guess, into just playing your opponent's cards. So I try to pick equipment very heavily when I play assassin for sure.
Hmm. And I think it's the assassin equipment. Some of the only equipment that is battle worn, which is obviously very good.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
also block
yeah,
with it early and then use it later.
yeah. Good pick, Pedro. What's your power card for new? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that card's really good. That was really close to being my pick as well. And I think that one is better than Hiss, because like Hiss is still good, still 1 for 3, but then you create a Slither, and then the Slither is a reaction that gives something go again. But it's often in limited, like hard to really, really make use of that Slither. Um, and they are cards that you can arsenal, like the ephemeral cards. You can arsenal them. But yeah, I think because that extra damage from Venomous Bite, I would put it just above for the exact reasons you said.
So what's next? Trap card.
Yeah, next is Trap Card. Do you guys want to go in reverse this time, or have someone else start? Because I don't. We might have like the same picks for a lot of them, and I don't want to just like steal the first pick every time. So Pedro, do you want to go first for trap cards?
Well said,
Mm-hmm.
Lewis.
Yeah, so this might be a hot take. I don't think it's a hot take, but it might be considered a hot take. I know it's a majestic, but we're talking about cards that could have been a signal where you lead into that hero because of that signal. And the Sacred Art Undercut Desires, which is the
Ooh.
legendary for new. I actually think it's a bait. Just because of the same reason Hiss is a bait, where you don't have like the go again, like you don't often have the go again to be able to play multiple attacks sometimes. Um, I think Sacred costing 3, having to play a blue in order to get the effect off of it, tends to end up being a trap. Um, I think even in CC, there's implications where you play it, and sometimes it's just a sideboard card. In limited, I think oftentimes you're not going to be able to get as much value as you need out of your cards. Limited tends to be a value game, and if you're not getting all the value from the card, then I don't think it should be in your deck for the matchup.
Hmm. That is a hot take. I didn't even like
I like
consider
it.
looking at. Yeah, I didn't even consider looking at any of the Sacred Art cards as traps because I mean Zen's is like so good that I was like, oh, the other two have to be just as good. But
I think Enigmas is fire as well. I
yeah,
just don't think news is as beneficial for limited format.
yeah, and definitely because like of the 30 card deck size, and then I don't know, we're still drafting 42 cards or whatever. Like sideboarding can be a real thing in this format, and I'm sure at the highest levels of draft, when somebody sits across from a new, uh, they're gonna take out the blues that they don't want the new to play against them, and replace them with something else. Like maybe replace them with like extra transcend cards or something. So then it's like, yeah, then this sacred art card is like, oh, banish 2 cards in an opposing hero's graveyard. Sweet, you banish 2 transcend cards or something, or like something that just like gives an attack go again or whatever. So yeah, yeah, I get it. You convinced me. I don't know if um my trap card for new is also a majestic. Um yeah, it's also a majestic. And I could be completely wrong, to be honest. Like I've only drafted new one time. Um and other than that, I've been drafting Zen, like almost every draft. And I drafted Enigma one time, or yeah, Enigma once, and then Zen like 4 times. Um, but my trap card for new in draft is Gorgon's Gaze. It's a yellow Mystic Assassin attack reaction, and it costs 2 and blocks 3. It says create a slither in your hand, banish all defending attack action cards on the combat chain. If a chi was pitched to play this, you may play the banished cards this combat chain without paying their resource cost. So it's basically like, New can now have a chance to play all your cards that aren't just blue, but she has to pitch a chi to be able to play them. And this card doesn't actually like do any damage. So it's just asking a lot. It's asking a lot of you to not actually do extra damage. I guess one thing is it banishes the cards on the active chain link, so now they're blocking 0. So if somebody does like fully block out, oh shoot, I might have just convinced myself this card's good, like late
No,
game.
I completely agree with you. I think this card's it's too situational. I mean, like we just talked about how go again isn't as like yes, there's archetypes that you can play an action, like one of your stealth cards and then go into a big attack, and the slither helps there, but
Mm,
a lot of people aren't even really blocking per se the new players. First off, they're racing like Ninja's racing. Um, they might be blocking a little bit, but you'd have to get to late game in order for Gorgon's Gaze to actually mean anything. And then
hmm
second off, there's so many non-attacks in this set with the blue Mystic cards that are block threes, and this only does attack actions. So
Oh, true.
like
Yeah, cards trash. Cards terrible.
yeah, like it doesn't always help you. I don't know. I think it's a bait card as well, or a trap
Yeah,
card as well. So
awesome. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Like I think if you're drafting and you're pretty settled in on new or whatever, like obviously you take this card. But if it's like pick like pack one, pick like 3 or 4, and you see this, I wouldn't take that as a sign that new is wide open.
I would pick this if I had double troubles in my deck, just because this is a way to get double reaction
Mm,
because of Slither. And most likely there are going to block with at least two cards for a double trouble, just because that's potentially a red one is what 6 damage,
hmm
and that's a lot of damage for a 20 life format. So
Yeah.
if you had like 2 to 3 double troubles, yeah, Gorgon's Gaze I think is a good solid pick. But outside of that, I'm not really sure.
Awesome. I remember when this card was spoiled, when Gorgon's Gaze was spoiled, I like didn't fully think about all the hoops you had to jump through for it, but I just read that like you can banish all the cards and play all the cards, and I was like, what have they done? It's like they have made a huge mistake. This is just what have they done? And turns out the card's definitely really good in CC as well, like in CC, but it's not like I don't know.
I only
It's
got
not like
that effect off once where you pitched a chi for it, but
hmm
that doesn't really happen too much unless it's a setup card.
yeah.
That's all it is.
Okay, so now we're going into the bomb cards. So this is like a majestic that like I'm thinking the way I thought about this was like you see this, pick one, pack one, pick one, and you take it, and you're like, sweet, that's the hero I'm going with this draft, unless something goes horribly wrong and you like really have to pivot or something. But cards that are good enough to keep you in a hero from pick one through to the end of the draft. Um, Mine for new, actually no, Lewis, you go first. You haven't gone first yet.
Yeah. So I don't think New has a lot of like really like bomb cards from like a majestic standpoint or whatnot. One of my favorite cards in this set, though, this is gonna be like I know probably not one of the ones you guys have said or going to say, so I think it's a easy one to say. I've really, really have enjoyed Levels of Enlightenment. Um, that card is so fire. For those that don't know, it's a one cost, comes in for three, blocks for three. When this attacks, choose one for each blue card you've pitched this turn. Draw a card. this gets +2, this gets go again. Um, so even just dagger or whatnot, um, if one of your daggers hits, you don't have to choose go again. You've probably just pitched 2 blues. Now you play draw a card. This card gets +2. So now it's coming in for 5. You draw a card, and most likely that's either going to be a reaction. Um, for your fourth card that you have in your hand, or you get another action card. Um, but if you get a reaction, um, that uses your last resource, and then you can play the action if you still have an action from your hand. So
Mm.
the card is so good.
So levels of enlightenment, even though it's just basically like a quote unquote generic, a mystic
Yeah.
action, that card you think overperforms in new. So if you draft that, you're like, okay, I'm looking to get into new.
For sure. I think it overperforms in new. I think it overperforms in I think you can pick it in Enigma too. I think the only one that it doesn't probably over or it doesn't perform well in is Zen for sure. But
Yeah.
if you're trying to stay open, that's your pack one pick one. I think I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. That's super interesting that like the way you explained it too is why it performs well in new with the daggers and stuff like that makes a ton of sense because yeah, like if a dagger hits, it has go again. So you
Yeah,
yeah,
you get all
that,
three for
that,
free.
yeah, that's awesome. um, sweet, that's a good one. Mine, I think just in general, yeah. Well, in general, levels of enlightenment is probably just the bomb of the set. Just like
You
if you see
also,
that,
sorry, you
yeah,
don't even need your dagger to hit, by the way. If you have a transcend card, you just transcend off the blue before it resolves, and you can pitch into hero ability, and you'd have 3 in your pitch zone as well. So
that's all. Yeah, that card's
quick
unreal.
blockers.
I think for new, my bomb card is it's probably it's just a Nick. It's the which new segment coming your way from Sunday Night Flesh and Blood. It's going to be me just talking, just a Nick. Um, maybe I'll like start streaming or something, and that's what I'll call it. I'll stream some games every once in a while. Call it Justin Nick. Anyways, but Justin Nick, it's a 0 for 5 assassin attack reaction. So it's cost 0, blocks 3. It says choose one or both. Target attack action with 1 or less base power gets +5. So it's +5, but you can only play it on a blue attack. Um, and then the second line, the other one you can choose is target attack with stealth gets when this hits a hero, banish the top card of their deck. This is just good for so many reasons. Gets your blue attack up to being, I guess, on rate damage wise. So being a 2 card 6. And then gives your stealth cards this extra power of when this hits, banish top card of their deck. So since it's worded where the card actually gets that text, the card that you banish will I don't know gain you a life or draw you a card or um, whatever the other text is on the assassin attack. Because obviously all the assassin attacks say like if blank has been banished, gain a life. So it counts towards that as well. So it's just like crazy. That card is just very good and very annoying to play against. Yeah, that's a great point. I'm pretty sure I passed that card when I was drafting new, and now I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? The answer is I wasn't.
You should listen to this
um,
podcast
I
first.
should, dude. I should have
I,
listened.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen that
Um,
card so far in any of my drafts. So that's a cool thought process for that
yeah,
card.
it is cool. There's a little side tangent. Sorry, but there's like these Zen lists that are popping up. That's like literally just bonds of ancestry spam, like 9 bonds, 9 descendants, whatever. And they play this card, and it's like a 0 for 6 every time they play it because they play a red, a yellow, and a blue like every turn. It's
That's
freaking
gas.
great.
Yeah,
It's
that's
crazy.
gas.
That deck is toxic.
Do they run 3?
Yeah, it's like a 0 for 6 every time. Yeah. Oh, Pedro's about to play that for nationals. I can feel it. Uh, yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, but yeah. All right, so that's our first hero, new. Oh,
That's
geez.
cool.
All right, we're already at the 40-minute mark. We got to speed up. We got to get going, boys.
Can
Uh,
so yeah, if we can we just wrap up new with just like Like, so if I'm listening to this, like I've really enjoyed y'all's discussion, but if I'm listening to this as a player who hasn't drafted yet, and I want to take something away from it, do you guys have any like just like basic tenets of that keep this in mind when you're drafting new? Like, for example, if I sat down to draft Uprising for the first time, and the person like next to me says, "Hey, just in case you fall into Phi, keep these two things in mind. You probably can't have too many unconditional go again cards, and you want between 8 and 10 blues." And just like with those like very basic things, okay, I have a rough idea of how to draft Phi now. Is there like
Hmm.
real basic strategies like that you can like say about new for someone in case they do end up drafting her for the first time next week?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just a basic, make sure your stealth cards effects matter. So there's some that just don't really matter. Um, I would always get a pick to pieces just because the Enigma match is really rough, really rough. Um, Unless you make it awkward, like Pedro suggested earlier. Um, that those are the basics, I would say. Make sure your stealths matter. And then you're gonna look for red red buffs, and then decent blues. And I think you'll be fine.
Hmm.
No, I mean that honestly, just that basic is already super useful. Like I'm gonna put a note in my phone right now and write that down.
Life
Yeah.
gain matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the on hits really do. That is the thing that matters because the draft that 'cause I don't know a lot about new, so I'm not going to offer any tips. Like, I don't feel I would probably not be doing anyone a service. But in my draft where I did end up in new, I was seeing a lot of red stealth attacks, and I was like, oh, new's probably open. But it was like I realized once I played my first game, I was like, oh, these are the stealth attacks that like need instants or like need whatever to trigger. Like they're not likely to trigger. And I was like, oh, that's why these were getting passed around. Like I didn't have, I think I had like a yellow double trouble or something, and like, but other than that, like I didn't have any of the super premium ones. Um, so yeah, I think what the on hit effect is matters a lot, like Lewis is
and
saying.
and the hero ability says action cards, so like any stealth card that says like banishes an action card or non-attack or attack action card, those are probably going to be more of your prime targets because everyone's going to have an action card in their deck.
Mm, yeah, that's for somebody just playing the set too. When you block a stealth attack against new, she banishes those cards from the chain link. They don't go to the graveyard because of her hero ability. So if it's a you're trying to banish attack action cards and then your opponent blocks with an attack action card, you will gain a life off that from them blocking with it because you banish that card once the chain link resolves. Um, so yeah, super like important thing to remember because like you'll forget a lot if you're not playing new, and like your new opponent will have to remind you like, hey, you banished that. Don't put that to graveyard. um, if you're playing in person, if you're playing online, Talishar will do it for you, obviously. So, all right, should we get into Enigma? Oh shoot, Pedro. Pedro, what do you think? Should we get into Enigma? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good shout. That's definitely the. If you could have four passovers in your new deck, you would want to play four passovers. And I guess in theory you could have it if you get past that. So yeah,
We should probably for each hero when we discuss the hero, we should probably discuss the transcend card that definitely works best for them.
yeah, that's a good call. Um, so yeah, let's make sure to do that for Enigma and Zen too. Um, all right, so let's move into Enigma. Um, so I'll go for. We could just do like the same order. I'll go first this time, then Pedro, then Lewis. Uh, so the power card I picked for Enigma is Waxing Spectre. That is the 2 cost instant aura. Has ward 3, and if you've pitched a blue card, it comes in with a +1 counter. And Enigma's whole thing is her auras that have ward are weapons, and their base power is equal to their ward. So that, and then if they have a +1 counter, they get go again. So that one comes in with ward 3, attacks for 4 with go again. Um, just super good. You just want to be doing that a lot. You want as many of those in your deck as you can get, probably, and the red one being the most premium. So, Lewis, you're next.
Yeah. I would say Waning Vengeance is one of my favorite cards to pick up. It's a one cost. When this leaves the arena, if you pitched a blue card this turn, create a spectral token. Red is Ward 3, um, and then followed by Ward 2, Ward 1. I think all the colors are good though. I've enjoyed this card so much. Um, just like you said with waxing specter or whatnot, it just fills out that curve for the rest of the deck. There's so many two cost cards in your deck for Enigma, and to have something that costs one really rounds it out. And it's a 1 for 4 at the end of the day. And you can't really ask for more than a 1 for 4. And it can be even more because if you're able to attack with it on the turn before, now you're saying you're getting 7 value from a card, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, one cost 7 value. That's a valiant thrust
I
right
guess that
there.
would be 2 costs just because you have to attack with it, but yeah,
Yeah.
2 for 7 still super
Yeah.
good rate.
All right, Pedro, your power card for Enigma. Yeah, yeah, and that, like, when when you're playing into an Enigma that has a spectral shield with, even, yeah, with like 3 or 4 tokens on it, and you're just like, it can attack for free every turn. They can use their entire hand to stop you from killing it, and then they just swing it for free every turn. It just feels like so inevitable, and you're like, oh my god, I need to get to this thing because it's gonna kill me. Um, so yeah, gotta protect the queen. Um, I do honorable mention, I think, for Enigma is Astral Etchings as a power card. It's basically, it put 3+1 counters on an aura you control with Ward. If you control a Spectral Shield, you can play this as though it were an instant. That card's just really good. So that's an honorable mention.
I also love the hands. I almost instant pick the hands almost every single time as well.
Oh, those ones, they are. Hang on, I'll find it real quick.
The one cost instant, turn this face up, put it has cloak, sorry. Put a +1 counter on an aura you control with ward, and then ward 1. So there's sneaky things you can do, come in for an attack, coming in for 3. No go again. Now you put the +1. Now it has go again. Now you come in with another attack for 3 or something, or even bigger. And at the end of the day, it still has ward 1 for the next turn. So
Yeah, yeah, that's good stuff. Um, all right, Pedro, trap card. Makes sense. Who's next, me or
I,
Lewis?
I can go. Mine's kind of a funny one. I have picked it before in a draft. I think a small trap card. You see this pack one, pick 3 or something. You see a majestic 10,000 year reunion or whatnot, and you're just like, oh man, I'm gonna play that card. At the end of the day, it doesn't have. It's not an instant, so you pay 8 for it. You may remove +1, 3+1 counters from among auras you control rather than pay this card's cost. And it's ward 10. That means it comes in for 10. So one card 10 is pretty good. If your deck is built around it, I mean, there's a world maybe that you can play it. It's probably would end up falling into a sideboard card for me. Like versus Enigma, you could probably get away with playing it, but versus Zen, for instance, it turns into a ward, whatever their finisher is probably.
Ward
So it could be like a ward 4. Hopefully, it's not a ward 1. If it's a ward 1, you probably lost the game. If it's but even versus new, they're gonna dagger. So if you give them that kind of momentum, if you block the 2 daggers with 2 cards, and have 2 cards remaining, that can turn into an issue. So I think it's a little bit of a trap card, but I can see it being really good into the Enigma mirror.
Mm-hmm. That's,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you still need 1 card left in hand.
2 card 10. That's not good. um, but yeah, I think that one's asking a lot. Um, my trap card, and this is just from experience, is Vengeful Apparition. It's a common, but it has a lot of words on it. So I always read it and I'm like, "Oh, that is broken. Like that shit is broken." Uh it's a zero cost, 3 block illusionist action aura. It says when this leaves the arena, if you control no illusionist auras, you may play your next aura with cost 2 or less this turn as though it were an instant. If you do, it enters the arena with a +1 counter. It has ward 1. And I just like, drafted that card one time, played that card in my pre-release deck, and I was like, this card's got to be cool. And I just like never actually got to do the thing with it. And then it just ended up being a one block, like literally every time I played it. So I think that card. Maybe I'm playing with it wrong. Maybe the blue is fine. It's a blue block 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a blue block 3. I never grab the red. I never grab the yellow unless it gets passed to me late in the thing. But a blue block 3, late pack 2, mid pack 3. It's like it's a blue block 3 at the end of the day.
Well, don't
But
be like me and see red and the word instant and assume it's good because it's not. Because that one for me personally was definitely a trap card.
it's
Um,
also an awful card for new to play off a hero ability. So like the mystic cards tend to be where you end up picking for a blue block 3, but this card's
mhm,
like a blue block 3 that's also pretty trash for new,
that's true. So yeah, red trap, blue maybe put it in your deck.
maybe.
Um, okay, now we're on to our bombs. Our bombs for Enigma. Um, Lewis, are you up first or is Pedro up first?
Yeah, I can go first. One of my bombs I think would be there's a lot of bombs with Enigma. I think one of my bombs ends up being Rage Spectre. I've really enjoyed that card. It's a 2 cost. On your turn, it's Ward 6. On their turn, it's Ward 1. So yeah, there's some stipulation to it. It's not an action. It's an action card, so not an instant. But when this enters the arena, if you control no other illusionist auras, gain 1 action point. Like I said, it costs 2. With Enigma, you're on a lot of blues, probably around 18-ish blues, I'd say. To pitch 3 into this, it costs 6. Attack with it. If you have your hand still, this just turns into a 7 go again, and that it's on a reactions phase too. So they think it's just 6 coming in, or it comes into 7, and then hopefully you have another attack to spare for it. So I've really enjoyed that card. I think it's been a bomb, but I think Enigma has a lot of bombs. So
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good card. Maybe if I drafted that card, my Enigma deck would have been better. um, okay, my bomb for Enigma is, I think, maybe probably just one of the most obvious bombs ever printed. You just see this card, you just look at the art of this card, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, like that's going in every deck it could possibly go in. It's Manifestations of Miragai. Um, this is a Mystic Illusionist instant aura, cost 3, does not block because it's instant. It's a blue, and it says this enters the arena with 2+1 counters. If a chi was pitched to play this, instead it enters with 4+1 counters, and it has ward X, where X is the number of +1 counters. Obviously, +1 counters are good. Gets go again with Enigma's hero ability and weapon. And then the way the ward works is if it has 2+1 counters, it's got ward 2, but then it will attack for 4 because it has the base power of 2 and then the 2+1 counters. If you ever pitch a chi for this, it attacks for 8. You're probably just like, I don't like winning the game from there. The card is just like so good, like so good. Um, yeah, yeah. If you pitch a chi for it, it's like 8 on your turn and then blocks 4. It's like a 12 value out of that card. Like that's just crazy. So that's my bomb for Enigma. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
that
think it's
makes sense.
I think it's a cool card. I think, like Pedro said, the card's bonkers in CC. If you had a whole bunch of, you know, and to go with, the Queen strat or the Protect the President strat, if you get a whole bunch of board state with +1 counters and then pair it with like a Restless Coalescence, um, it churns really bonkers really fast in CC. Um, I think from a limited perspective, yeah, I mean, if you can double transcend and get your resources back, you can still have a really good churn. Um, but it is a little hard to get the max value off of that card.
Yeah, yeah. I guess this card like gets better exponentially the bigger your board is, and in limited, it's hard to keep a big board. So it's like, yeah, I get it. Makes sense.
I want to go as far as trap, but yeah, it's I see your reasoning.
Um, wait, did we
So you
just
guys
do?
want to do?
We did traps already, right?
We already did
Yeah.
traps.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. I was like, wait, what did I miss?
So you guys want to do the same thing real quick for Enigma? I think for Enigma, it's especially important to give a new player, or not a new player, but a player new to the set, some basic things they can lean on. Because I think a lot of people they see that word illusionist and they get real weary. They're like, oh, I don't know how to play this. It's too different.
hmm Yeah, I feel that. That's kind of still how I feel. I think maybe my one piece of advice is like really prioritize the instant auras and the actions auras with go again. I feel like yeah, a lot of just the actions that take your whole action point. Yeah, in a tempo format, it's hard to keep the train rolling if you have too many of the illusionist auras that don't have go again or aren't instants.
Makes
But again,
sense.
I don't. That's just my general feel after playing a couple drafts with the hero.
Yeah, I'd say probably have at least eight, like around, I'd say around 18 blues has always felt pretty good for me for Enigma. I have done a little bit more and didn't feel awful, but you still want those prime, bread and butter red. So I wouldn't go too heavy on the blues. Um, I think just like Pedro was saying, you probably want like five maybe. I've enjoyed five transcend cards. One of my
hmm
favorite transcend cards is a drop in the ocean.
That's what I was
Um,
gonna say. That.
yeah, the -1 is like super good for trying to keep your board alive. But you have other transcend cards like you don't mind gaining a life. So just in case they break your board, you can just recoup and you still have decent life. And even the Rising Sun, Setting Moon, which is the draw card and put a card to the bottom, that helps filter your hand. Double transcending is gonna probably happen pretty often with Enigma, and then you can pitch into the chi on your opponent's turn at the end, and then you can pitch into the chi to your hero ability with the other chi on the start of your turn. So
hmm
um, it's
I I think too. Like while we're on the transcend cards, it's like I think for Enigma and New, stir the pot, the one that just shuffles. I actually think it's super important because if you're like transcending, like if you transcend a couple turns in a row and then pitch all your chi and they're all just clumped together on the bottom, like one, you're eventually going to draw them all together and they don't block. Uh, but two, if there's chi in your deck, you want to see it like as often as possible, and the shuffle one hopefully separates them and makes it more likely for you to see it faster. So I think stir the pot and shuffling is super important in every hero, but Zen does it on his hero ability, so the stir the pot's not as important for him.
interesting perspective. I haven't really played around with that card, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, hey Pedro, your mic is kind of like getting quiet. I think we were able. It's okay. Wait, talk again. Okay, that's better. I think we could still hear you that whole time. Like I was able to hear everything you said. But yeah, just letting you know. But thank you. No, it's okay. And I'm going to listen back to that because I have no idea how to play against Enigma. And you said a million things where I was like, oh, that's why I like lost every game I've ever played as Enigma. because, because just like prioritizing the wrong things. Um, cool. All right. On to Zen. Final hero of the set and my personal favorite. Let's go. Um, so for Zen, I guess we'll just get right into it. Colin, did you have any other questions about Enigma, or are you ready to move on?
No, I think you guys covered it.
Cool. So for Zen, power cards. We'll start with that. I'll go first. I there's a lot of them, I think. What I'm noticing about how we're talking about this too is like the heroes that we've played the most of. We're like, oh, there's a lot of power cards. um, so a lot of it's probably just once you start understanding the hero and how it operates, you start seeing the value across the whole card pool. But my power card, I wanted to get a little bit unique. I wanted to do a unique pick, and I'm gonna pick Aspect of Tiger Body, the red combo card. It's rare, costs 0, blocks 3, attacks for 3. And it says, when this attacks, combo, when this attacks, if a red attack action card was the last attack this combat chain, this gets go again and create a Crouching Tiger in your banished zone. You may play it this turn. So this obviously this card isn't like a starter. It's not like a chain or a turn starter for you. But I do think with Zen, you want to be playing a lot of the one cost 4 power starters, and this pairs really well with something like Flex Claws, or even something like I don't know, Biting Breeze. But any of the ones that like don't automatically make a Crouching Tiger, right? Like say you play a Flex Claws for 4 against Enigma, they block it with a card and a Spectral Shield. You can follow that attack up with the Aspect of Tiger body to unconditionally make a tiger in your banished zone, then attack with your weapon, and then get that value from your weapon. So I just think like that Aspect of Tiger body card pairs really well with some of the things you want to be doing, and you can tutor it with the hero ability. Um, and like, yeah, the more that I play with that card, the more spots I find where I'm like, oh, actually, I'm gonna go get that card and play it this chain. So that's my pick. Aspect of Tiger body.
Yeah, one of my favorite cards for Zen has really been the Tiger Form Incantation. Um, so it's the red one is a one cost, um, gets you a Crouching Tiger, and then your next Crouching Tiger is +3. It really allows you to play that mid range Zen if you have to play that mid range Zen. It goes into the cost curve. So if you have a two card hand, you play that card plus a blue. You just play Tiger Form Incantation into the weapon, making sure you do not do weapon and then the non-attack, because that does break the combat chain and your weapon does request you have the combat chain. But that's casually, what, 3 4, uh, two card 6, which is like
Yeah.
pretty good place to be at.
And spread out over the chain, over like 3 chain links is, I guess, worth something. Probably if they block it all out, they're probably blocking it inefficiently.
Yeah. And if you
So,
have a zero, even a zero cost, if like a 3 card and you have a zero cost, 0 for 4 or something, then
hmm
you're looking at 10 damage with a 3 card hand. So
hmm hmm yeah, yeah. The boots are so good. The boots and the hat for Zen, like it feels like if you have both of those, it's like you could take a deck that looks kind of mid and get 2-1 out of it because the boots and the hat are so good. The hat is just you block with it, blade break 1, and put a card with combo from your graveyard on the bottom of your deck. So you can basically put your best combo card back in and then tutor it again. Um, and Pedro, you reminded me of something with Untamed, 1 power or 1 cost, 4 power, go again. That card pairs super well with Aspect of Tiger body. You play that, play Aspect of Tiger, get your Crouching Tiger. That's 7. Then you are attacking with the weapon for 2 and the Crouching Tiger for 2. It's just so satisfying. Like, you know. All right, trap cards. Yeah, yeah, 3 card 11, not bad. Um, oh, and also one of the best plays I guess you can make in Zen off of 2 cards is playing like a wind chakra, like the blue wind chakra, then transcending. Oh wait, no, that requires the chest. Just kidding. That's in CC. This is about draft. Never mind. As you were. Let's move on. Pedro, trap card. Oh, just kidding. Trap card for Zen. What is it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. It's like it's just unfortunate.
I mean, there's an archetype there, right? That you it just requires you to not pitch at all. But there's the archetype where you have the was it key the two cost the key unleashed, and that requires you to be able to pretty much pitch two blues anyways most of the time if you're trying to get your weapon out. So I mean, if you're pairing Key Unleashed with it, like it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree. That's a card's definitely bottom pick priority for me when I'm playing Zen. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think the power of like the other commons and rares like makes up for that one. Luckily, the other commons and rares are so good. Um, so yeah, Lewis, what's your trap card for Zen?
yeah, so it's weird. Zen really flows really well together overall. Um, I think the biggest trap, it's not really the cards per se itself, is knowing what your cost curve is supposed to be. What does that mean? If you're playing these, like for instance, flex claws, which are the one cost starter, um, and then you're playing your weapon, then you can only really play zero cost from then on out, really, to effectively utilize your whole hand and squeeze out as much value as you want. Oftentimes, though, you can grab a one cost, like Breed Anger or something, and really mess up your curve and not be able to utilize your whole hand. Um, so I haven't been a huge fan of Breed Anger. I know it's a good one for four, but it does require you to play a Crouching Tiger. So the only really way to pair it well in a combat chain is something like Biting Breeze into your weapon, into Breed Anger, and then maybe you can even have a finisher. But like I said, I mean, all the cards kind of go well together if you know what your cost curve is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think my this one might be a cop out. My trap card though, it's a majestic for Zen. It's a Mystic Ninja action, and it's Shifting Winds of the Mystic Beast, which is probably one of the coolest cards that Ninja's ever gotten. Where it's like whenever you play a Crouching Tiger this turn, name a card, it gets that name. So like in theory, right, you can play all of the best combo finishers that have ever been printed. And then with this card, you name a Crouching Tiger, whatever the card you need is, and you can all of a sudden play Break Tide or whatever in your deck. Um, Card's super cool. Obviously, in limited, there are no cards that combo with anything other than Crouching Tigers. So the card is doing literally nothing for you except being a blue block 3 and looking cool as hell. Um, but yeah, I think, man, what was I going to say? I had something else to say. Oh, okay, this is funny. This is not actually about drafts, but Tarek, Tarek Patel, the infamous Tarek Patel, might be in town for a couple weeks. If we end up doing a draft together, my goal for the draft, I don't care what happens, I'm going to draft that card if I can. When I play Tarek, I'm going to name all my Crouching Tigers Knick Knack Brick-a-Brack just to troll him.
What a meme. What a meme.
Do you think that he'll like that? Probably
I
not.
think
He
he
probably
will.
hears.
I
He
think
probably hears.
I think he'll laugh. I will say,
He'll
I
probably
guess
give me a chuckle.
I guess I
Probably
didn't
give
give a great answer. I will say if you don't have the boots, territorial domain is really bad. That's the D react that
yeah.
if you made a crouching tiger, it's a 0 for 5, which is awesome. If you haven't, then it's a 0 for 2. So if you don't have the boots, then you probably
That's
shouldn't
a
ever pick that
that's a
card.
good answer because
Yeah.
if you do have the boots, it's probably a bomb. But if you don't have
Yeah.
the boots, it's probably a trap.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so my answer is shifting winds. Um, so yeah, have did Pedro do trap yet? Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he
Okay,
did.
so now we have bombs. So Lewis, what's your bomb for Zen? And let's try to go quick and wrap this up so we
Yeah,
can
yeah,
do
my bad, my
more.
bad.
No, no, you're good. That was just in general.
I will say so. Ninja doesn't really have any reactions. I actually really liked Maul. Maul was like
Mm,
one that they don't really ever expect, just as like a that crouching tiger at the end coming in for like 0 or something, or to for a game finisher. Maul has been actually pretty good. They never expect the reaction.
yeah, that one's very, very good. Um, I think. Oh, I think Colin just said his computer died. We're on our own, boys. We're on our own. Um, what were we on? Bombs.
Bombs, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Maul is super good because, like you said, nobody ever expects it. So, like, yeah,
It's like
I
three
think
free damage late game. Someone did double maul to me to finish me off. I'm just like, what?
kill,
What just
kill you from
happened?
kill you
Yeah,
from 6 out of nowhere.
yeah,
Yeah, react, dude. Doing stuff at reaction speed is very, very good. And it blocks 3. Like
yeah,
that's crazy. Like, yeah. My bomb is probably again. I'm going with like the obvious ones, but my bomb is Chase the Tail. Um, that card is just insane. It's a combo card. Excuse me. 1 cost, 3 block, 4 power. Combo. When this attacks, if a Crouching Tiger was the last attack this combat chain, this gets go again. And the next Crouching Tiger you play this combat chain gets +3. So it's basically a 1 for 7 go again across 2 chain links. It's just like this card literally having just 1 copy of this card can make you have a 3-0 draft deck, especially if you have the hat, the Mask of Wizened Whiskers, and then I guess I'll knock out another topic. And if you have Chase the Tail, the Transcend card that puts a card from your graveyard on the bottom of your deck becomes like your top priority. Um, I had a draft deck where I had Chase the Tail, and I think like 2 or 3 Preserved Traditions, and I had a game where I played Chase the Tail 3 times. Like, and if you're playing a 1 for 7 with Go Again 3 times in a limited game, like it felt unfair. Like I just like steamrolled the guy or girl. It's just that card is just instant. Like if you see a Chase the Tail, like just take it and congratulations, you're playing Zen.
yeah. If you take it early enough, that card's bonkers. If you can build
Yeah.
around it.
I pivoted pack 2 pick 2 in a draft because I got past pick 2. I got past to Chase the Tail and I pivoted and I think still went 2-1. No, I went 1-1 and then couldn't find an opponent. But yeah, card's crazy. Um, Pedro, what is your bomb for Zen? Yeah. Yeah, I think in limited that's definitely it's the most like face up good just straight value of the sacred arts. It's just yeah, very powerful. Um cool. I think in terms of just like general notes for Zen, um what I'm looking for typically like if you're going into a draft then like your first one and you want to draft Zen, I think probably 4 to 5 transcend cards. You want to be triggering your hero ability as much as possible. Really prioritize the preserve tradition one, where you put a card back in your deck. The equipment for Zen is super important. The boots and the hat. If you can get both of those, your deck's probably just going to be good. You need some good combo targets, and then try to the cost curve, like Lewis was saying, is super important. 0 and 1 costs are much better with the weapon than any of the 2 costs. And if you're gonna play 2 costs, the one you should probably play is Key Unleash, the combo, the 7 power, um, 2 cost 3 block combo card. And yeah, you could probably play those at any of the colors. And I think probably you want to be around 15 blues for Zen, which seems like a lot. I thought early on, like 10 or 11 could work. Anytime I've gone below 15, I'm like, man, I wish I had a couple more. Had a couple more blues because when you transcend, you want to have two blues in your hand. So, so yeah, I think that about wraps it up. If anybody wants to add on something real quick, go ahead. But I think that's pretty much it for our draft review.
So I have nothing to add, but I do have an idea for how we can end. I've got 3 cards in mind, and I've never drafted this set. I've never played this set, so hopefully I did an okay job of this. But I was like kind of paying attention to y'all's conversation, taking notes or whatever. And I've got 3 cards in mind, and I want you guys to do a pack one, pick one between these 3 cards. What you take? So hopefully it's not like too obvious, because I really don't know. But you ready for the 3 cards? So, red Battlefield Bastion, um, Uphold Tradition, and red Double Trouble. That is the Illusionist Arms. It's Illusionist Arms, cloaked, instant 1 resource. Turn this face up, put a +1 counter on an aura you control with ward.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's hard.
So red Battlefront
Um,
Bastion.
if it was like a real pack one
It's
pick
real, Lewis.
one, I'd see like what signals I'd be
Yeah.
giving if I actually picked it. So if there was like a plenty of assassin cards, I would not grab the double trouble. I'd instantly like mark that off because I'm giving signals, assassins open, I'm going to another lane. Um, Red Bastion 3 for 7 is like always like super solid. But also just see if what kind of illusionist cards there were. If there was like prime blues and reds, it's you're still giving signals that illusionist is wide open. So it depends really on those factors for me. But I think a red bastion's probably always like a good just pick if it's a pack one pick one.
Yeah, the generic makes sense.
I think, dude. I probably should take the Battlefront Bastion, but I'm taking the Double Trouble. That card's too much fun to play.
Out of the three, what's my favorite card though? I'd go with the illusionist hands. I think that matters the most for each of the for the class itself.
Pedro?
Yeah. No, I think I would. Yeah, I think I'd take the Double Trouble. Yeah, I would do that. Yeah. Yeah. The fact that it's so good against new too it helps because you just block the first dagger and then prevent the damage on the second dagger. It's good, good stuff. So, well, guys, we got what do we got? We got a little over a week until the Part the Mistveil Shub draft, where we buy a box of Part the Mistveil, come over to my house, put a table in my shed, pack 8
I'm
dudes in
excited.
there, drink some beer, and draft some Flesh and Blood. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a good time.
We recording it?
Things get crazy in the Shub,
Dude,
the Shed Pub.
Brandon will
Yeah.
probably want to.
Recording the Shub draft?
Brandon can
Oh, we
help.
might need to. Yeah, we might need to. So it's not just a shed. It's more like a very small barn. So if you're picturing it in your head, all our listeners out there, it's not just a shack. It does need a new roof though. So, but it's not that shitty. But it's nice. It's roomy in there. It's roomy in there. Yeah, I'm excited. So
Yeah, it should be a good time.
it's gonna be a good time. All right, guys, we're only 50 minutes over our target of 40 to 45. So,
Draft be like that.
but it is, dude. It's crazy. It's crazy how much there is to talk about in when you're unpacking a limited format. Because like, even the way we planned it, we wanted to be like, all right, we'll just talk about like 3 cards for each hero, and like we'll get through it. But there's just so much. There's just so much to do. So much going on. But I can say, without a shadow of a doubt, like this set is awesome. This set is like a home run. So much creative design. So much flavor. The heroes are all cool and unique in their own ways. I'm like really, really enjoying it. So, and I can't wait to win the Calling Minneapolis. So that's gonna be sweet too. Next time we record will probably be the week before we leave for Nationals / the Calling in Minneapolis. So awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. Yeah. So thank you for listening, everybody out there who's listening. And yeah, we'll see you. You'll hear from us again in a couple weeks. Have a good day.